Again, my name is Joyanna McMahon. I am the education specialist here at Children's National Health Center for the Celiac Disease Program. And today we're going to discuss attending summer camp on a gluten-free diet. So please feel free to let me know if you have any questions along the way. You can just type them in to the question tab. You can also hit the chat tab and let me know if there's anything else if you can't get the question tab to work. Again, I really do hope you can hear me, so please let me know if you can't. I will email you the handouts to go along with today's slideshow after. So without further ado, we'll get started. So attending summer camp, gluten-free summer camp on a gluten-free diet comes up with a bunch of different options and ideas. The whole idea of it is that we feel that just because your child is gluten-free does not mean they should miss out on having the memories and fun experience of attending a summer camp. So luckily there are camps that have come along that offer these carefree camp activities and worry-free environments. They're willing to accommodate and keep your child safe. And there's ways that that you can work with them to find accommodations that work for you and your family. So some of the different summer camp options that are out there is there are some of these specialized gluten-free camps where everything is dedicated gluten-free. The other campers are gluten-free. And basically they are set up to handle special dietary needs. That is their specialty in their camp offerings. There's also regular camps that are willing to accommodate. So as the gluten-free diet becomes more widespread, this becomes something that is easier to handle. And there's different accommodations in place, and you can work with a camp director to figure out something, again, that works for you and your family. And there's also other arrangements. If for some reason a specialized gluten-free camp is not in the cards for you, or you can't find a regular camp that's willing to accommodate, we'll discuss some other arrangements that can possibly be put into place as well. So we're also going to discuss touring camps, different questions to ask and what to look for as you are reviewing different camps and finding options. And we have a couple of other additional resources we'll discuss today as well. So the most important message, as I said earlier, is that summer camp can be one of the greatest times in a child's life. And by planning ahead, your child can partake in this camp experience and can create fun memories, still while remaining safe. So these different options. So some things for families to consider. The biggest thing is, how long has your child been gluten-free? That obviously makes a big difference as to how you're going to possibly approach this. If your child is very new to the gluten-free diet, you're obviously going to want to probably look for the safest, most secure environment without too many risks for cross-contamination or opportunities for him to have to advocate for himself. You kind of want a lot of that guesswork and questioning done for you. So that might be an opportunity for you to want to pursue the dedicated gluten-free camp environment. Again, also, what kind of support system do they currently have? Do you already know other gluten-free children? Do you already have different support systems in place? Or are you kind of feeling isolated? Maybe you're looking for some other gluten-free families to make relationships with. Again, that might be an opportunity where you would want to pursue a dedicated gluten-free camp where your child can build relationships with other gluten-free children. That goes along with the how important is it for them to build a support system? And does it have to be local? Is it okay in today's internet age for some of his friends that are possibly meeting to be scattered across the country and possibly maintaining a relationship via text message or online and possibly seeing each other just a couple times a year? Or is it more important for you to find different friends for them to socialize with locally? They can go trick-or-treating together around Halloween, possibly go to school together, see each other for play dates. These are all important things to consider what's going to work best for you and your family. And what do they look to gain from the camp experience? Is it more important for them to build some of these support systems and friendships with other gluten-free children? Or if possibly they might already have some, Is this something that maybe they're looking to possibly pursue an interest of theirs? Maybe they want to pursue a STEM lab or science camp type atmosphere, or maybe they're a very talented artist and they're looking to pursue art camp. So if their interests are the more leading part of your camp experience, that does change some of the parameters of how important the gluten-free diet and support system in your priority list. So evaluating these options, dedicated gluten-free camps. Dedicated gluten-free camps do range from the traditional camp experience, which is the swimming and canoeing and the whole little tent or cabin atmosphere. The whole, when we think of summer camp, the salute your shorts metaphor, those type camps that are still out there. There are also some more specialized camps. They do have art camps and sports camps. They're fewer than some of the other camps that do not have the gluten-free parameters surrounding them, but they do exist. And the best part when you are attending any of these camps are like a vacation where you can leave all your food allergy fears behind. So benefits of a dedicated gluten-free camp experience. There have been some research studies that have actually been done on this. So according to the Pediatric Journal, being around other kids with the same dietary restrictions helps gluten-free kids feel normal. I think that's kind of common sense, but it obviously has actually been released in a study. When a kid attends a dedicated gluten-free summer camp, they report leaving with a more positive outlook and self-perception. It goes along with the idea of any time a child realizes they're not alone, they are not that different from others, they're going to come across with an additional sense of confidence, a more positive experience, and feeling stronger and more confident in the way they're living their lifestyle. It goes along with a celiac lifestyle as well. They all seem to benefit from camp, no longer feeling different from other kids or feeling frustrated with the restricted diet. This came out in an article in the American Academy of Pediatrics in March of 2010. When they're able to socialize with other children who are living with special dietary restrictions, they can share and compare notes. How do you handle birthday parties? How do you handle your school environment? And again, just that bouncing off of ideas, similar to even how adults do that, benefits children as well. So anytime they can surround themselves with other gluten-free children is going to be an opportunity for them to gain and grow in their acceptance of this lifestyle. Disadvantages of a dedicated gluten-free camp experience. Unfortunately, many of them are far away from home. There only are a few across the country. And so unfortunately, you do sometimes have to pursue, even including a long car ride, sometimes plane rides, depending upon where you feel comfortable sending the child. So they're probably not necessarily in your backyard. So you might have to just travel to get to one. They do also limit their choice of specialty camp offerings, as I said. There are some art and specialty or sport camps or things like that, but they are fewer. So it might possibly limit your choice in what you were looking in your interest to pursue. It also limits the development of self-advocacy skills. Yes, you are putting yourself in the midst of a safe environment where everybody at that entire camp is gluten-free. And that is a benefit, as we said. You're going to be around other gluten-free children. You're going to be around counselors who are familiar with celiac disease and who are familiar in working with children that have it. Possibly many of the counselors even have it themselves. The entire food staff are all preparing gluten-free food and understand how to do so. So all of the guesswork and risk is taken out of the equation. However, the child now does not have to actually worry about speaking up for themselves or learning any of those independent skills about asking about ingredients or advocating for themselves and taking care of their risk factors. So it's a contained environment, which is great. Again, it depends how independent the child already is, how comfortable the child already is. And that's something for you to consider. How often are your children going to be in a contained world or environment like that? So is it more important to teach them the skills to advocate for themselves? Or do they already get enough of that and you just want them to have a worry-free experience? You as a parent know your child best. It also limits their social circle exposure. Again, this is an opportunity for them to possibly just associate themselves with other gluten-free children. How important is that? That's up to you as the parent. Other options, working with a regular camp. As understanding about celiac disease does become more widespread, more and more camps are willing to accommodate gluten-free campers. So when you look at other camps that are already out there, some of them will be willing, almost like a 504 plan like you have at school, they will be willing to set up accommodations for you. And that's something you're going to need to make some phone calls and discuss with different camp directors. So benefits of a regular camp experience. You can remain local. So that's definitely a plus, that you don't necessarily have to travel far and wide, or maybe even just a little closer sleepaway camp so that they can come home if they need to, or you can go up and see them if you need to. Just you feel more comfortable having them closer to home. You could also continue attending a camp where you're already established, especially depending upon when your child's been diagnosed. They might already have built up a friendship circle or have experiences and a comfort level already associated with the summer camp they've been attending. If you can continue with that particular camp relationship and just put some gluten-free accommodations into place, it's definitely obviously a lot easier for you as the parent and for the child. They don't have to go and begin anew all over again elsewhere. You could also attend with non-gluten-free friends. Obviously, most of your children are spending the majority of their life in school already. They already have a network of friends. If all of their friends from school are planning on attending a local camp that's obviously not gluten-free, could it be more isolating for your child to be missing out on that experience by going by themselves to a gluten-free camp? So again, that's that pro or con as to what network of friends and support is more important to you. You can also seek out a camp that's geared towards a specialized interest area. As we spoke about earlier, if you're looking for that specialized STEM camp or space camp or whatever possible other interest your child has, these are regular camps that you can possibly look for accommodations there for them to still be able to attend them. Disadvantages of a regular camp experience. There's obviously a greater risk for cross-contamination. Unfortunately, a lot of these camps, although they're willing to work with you, they might not have the same training protocols in place. They might not necessarily have the other celiac or gluten-free campers there, that they're putting the same preparation techniques or protocols in place. The counselors might not necessarily be as well trained. So that's something that you have to consider as well. There could also, as I say, be a lapse in training or understanding with the supervising personnel. The biggest thing is that sometimes the burden to integrate these safe protocols and providing training is possibly going to fall on you. You as the parent are the one that's going to have to speak up, to advocate, to possibly steer them towards resources or supplies to get themselves ready to accommodate your child, depending upon if there are any other campers that are celiac as well. So you have to be willing to be a person who's willing to take that undertaking on. So evaluating these options, if you can't find something in either of those particular scenarios, either a regular camp that's willing to accommodate or you're not comfortable going to a dedicated celiac camp, as I mentioned before, there are other ways you can create some other alternatives. So say, for instance, you find a regular camp, but you're not willing to undertake that huge burden of training and safety measures and finding them supplies to set up the entire camp, but you still want your child to attend there. So what you could possibly do is you could either have them attend that sleepaway camp, and you can just provide for safe meals or snacks to be delivered. You could send them off with a full cooler and maybe see if they have a freezer that they're willing to accommodate space for them there. And essentially, you've at least already done all the preparation and cooking at home, and it's just being heated up for your child each day they're there. That could be something that could be arranged. Otherwise, you could also possibly find a local day camp and just send them with food from home every day. So these are at least other alternatives that they can still get all the socialization and all the experience, but you don't have to necessarily worry about the food component of their camping experience. So getting acquainted with some of these camps. So here are some resources to find some dedicated gluten-free camps. I've scoured and found a bunch of these different websites, and they all are dedicated to reviewing gluten-free camps and their offerings. Gluten-Free Jules goes on and has a full review page and overview of all these different camps. Beyond Celiac has some write-ups as well. Gluten-Free Living has an article that's dedicated to different gluten-free summer camps. Gluten-Free and More has a review on gluten-free celiac and celiac camps, and also just special dietary camps in general, different food allergies, nuts-free, all those type of different things. And then the gluten intolerance group also has an overview of different summer camp opportunities, and we'll talk about this in more detail later, but they also offer their own private scholarship that that will send away a child to a gluten-free summer camp. So we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But these websites are fantastic for you finding some of the different camp offerings that are out there, with even some explanations as to how they have set up their protocol and about the experiences from other campers as to how they felt things were handled and if they found they were beneficial or not. So some differences in some of these dedicated gluten-free camps. So there's more than one approach to how a camp might choose to handle their gluten-free camp experience. So one of them is that the entire camp is gluten-free and only offers gluten-free dining as an option. So as I said, that's where possibly all the counselors might be as well, or many of them, all the campers are. All food that is possibly prepared there is gluten-free. Then they also possibly might just have a separate gluten-free kitchen space. So this would be where, again, so this could be an option possibly for your child to still attend a camp with other campers from their school if they're willing to. So you have some celiac children, some non-celiac children, possibly one of these other special dietary restrictions. They can all commingle together, but you know at least there is dedicated gluten-free kitchen space. So everything is prepared there, everything is safe there, there is no cross-contamination risk, and they probably have some kind of different serving protocol in place as well. Then there are times where a camp just offers dedicated gluten-free weeks. So it's a normal summer camp on a regular basis, but 3 weeks out of the summer, only gluten-free campers attend and only gluten-free food is prepared. So that could be another possibility as well. So these are some of the options that at this time are floating around out there. So touring these camps. So preparing questions to ask. It helps to decide what type of camp option you're wanting to pursue. Is it a dedicated gluten-free camp, a local camp willing to train and accommodate, or creating your own safe camp experience? And a lot of that goes into place with thinking about your individual child's sensitivity to exposure. And as I said earlier, their experience level with the gluten-free diet. So then you should be investigating how the camps handle their food for special dietary needs. So as we said, is it a dedicated kitchen space, all the type of things we just went over. So you can find out a lot of this information by going to some of those review sites that I mentioned, exploring their individual website, and really picking up the phone and calling the head office and speaking with them directly. So sample questions you might want to ask. So how do you handle campers with food sensitivity, specifically those on a gluten-free diet? How is the gluten-free food prepared and handled? Do all the counselors and food preparation staff undergo training? And this again comes into play of, are the counselors possibly gluten-free, or do they at least go through a rigorous training protocol to really be comfortable with the gluten-free lifestyle? Can special gluten-free requests be made? This could be very important if your child has any other allergies in addition to gluten. Do they need to be dairy-free and gluten-free? Do they possibly need to be kosher? Do they possibly have some other tree nut allergies? Is it just gluten-free food, or do they have accommodations in place for other food types as well? What happens if a mistake is made and a child does get sick? What kind of what are their protocols for those type of things? Do they have medical staff on campus? How are those things handled? So then you want to evaluate the kitchen space. As I said, does the camp have a dedicated gluten-free kitchen? An important question is, on some of those camps that are regular camps the rest of the summer and they only have dedicated weeks, how do they ensure that the kitchen is safe from cross-contamination? And do they have separate utensils that are in place for just those dedicated weeks? How do they have that all set up? And is all served food gluten-free, or is there just a dedicated menu? Some of those ones that I mentioned before, where it could just be a regular camp and perhaps they have a dedicated kitchen, or are they just possibly serving gluten-free food to the isolated campers? But again, what is their procedures and how do they have protocol in place? What is the serving style? Is it family style being served at the table with a counselor serving everyone? Or is there a buffet? These are all questions that are important to ask for you to be able to perceive what possible risk of cross-contamination could occur. And evaluating their menus. So if the camp is not already gluten-free, are they willing to make changes to the menu to accommodate your child? So this is one of the ones when you're looking possibly at a regular camp and trying to see if you can still make it work for your child. So can you help them find substitute ingredients to possibly make the menu work? Could you offer to help train their staff in safe preparation techniques? We at the hospital on the celiac disease program actually do provide some of these trainings to schools, and we definitely could to camps as well. So if you could steer them towards resources that we provide or other resources that you know of, or if you're actually willing to go into the camp yourself and speak with them and offer some kind of training techniques, depends again how much of an advocate you're willing and are comfortable being. And if the camp just decides they're really uncomfortable taking on this task and providing the food, ask if they have safe storage space for you to provide food from home. The big thing here is that you're just looking for your child to get that fun, memorable experience. The food should be a sideline, or it should be something that is, just kind of in the perimeter, but it should not be the focal point. So as long as your child's not feeling completely isolated, hopefully they can just find a way to make it work, that the food is not a safety risk, but it doesn't have to be something that also holds them back from the experience either. So talking again before about the medical and nutrition support, in addition to the camp director, you should also reach out to the camp's medical staff. What kind of medical staff is available? Are they just counselors who happen to work in the infirmary preparing to hand out Band-Aids and Bactine? Or are they actually trained nurses or trained medical staff? That obviously makes a difference to your child's possible needs if they have health components still, or symptoms that are still going on with their celiac disease, or if, God forbid, they do get cross-contaminated. So are they familiar with celiac disease care? That is an additional question and important to find out the answer to. So at the end of all of this, you need to evaluate the answers. And as I said earlier, you as the parent know your child best. You want to make sure that you are comfortable sending your child away here. You want to make sure that your child is comfortable being sent away. Do you feel safe? So a lot of times this could be your child's first experience away from home. So you want to make sure that it's in addition to just the usual nerves that any child experiences when they're leaving home for the first time to go away to a sleepaway camp. There obviously is the added layer to this, that they're also dealing with the risks of cross-contamination, just the unfun details of living a gluten-free lifestyle, and in addition to everything else. So you want to make sure that the camp is going to alleviate any of those concerns. Does the staff sound warm and courteous? Were they receptive to your call? Were they giving you answers and making you feel that you were being heard and welcomed? Did they sound knowledgeable in their answers? Obviously, you want to have a good feeling from that. And do they want to help you? Hopefully they do, and hopefully they are looking to do whatever accommodations are necessary for you to feel that your child will be taken care of in their care. So then with your decision time, you need to decide which choice is best for you. You want to make sure that that camp makes them feel comfortable. You want to make sure there are support systems in play, whether it's the counselors, the directors, other gluten-free campers that are more experienced, all of that above. And you want to make sure that the camp is going to be a place where your child will thrive and make some great memories. I mentioned the camp scholarships earlier. As I said, the Generation GF is part of the gluten intolerance group. They do provide scholarship opportunities to help families send their kids to camps that cater to special dietary needs. So that's definitely a place to look and see if you can get some help from and possibly even get a free camp experience out of the deal. We also offer some more resources too and information on this topic. You can check out our podcast, the Summer Camp Gluten-Free Way on Gluten-Free Radio. We've interviewed a camp director and a parent who helped make the camp gluten-free and has accommodations and has the entire background of how to actually go through some of that protocol and taking it on into place for training. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our app, the Celiac and Gluten-Free Diet Digital Resource Center, for all kinds of information about the gluten-free lifestyle. And here's our contact information as well. Again, my name is Joyanna McMahon, and I am the Community Education Specialist at the Celiac Disease Program. My email is there, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out and just get in contact, even if you just want to chat about anything gluten-free. I hope that this was helpful to you today, and I hope that it helps you get a great gluten-free camp experience for your child, and you get some great memories out of it. I'm going to sit here for a couple minutes to see if you have any questions, and if not, have a great summer. All right, I think that's all today. Well, have a great day, and as I said, have a great summer. Thanks for attending today.